Welcome everyone to the Fantasy Phoenix podcast. And for the last time this season, here to give you tips for NBL SuperCoach. Let's dive in and review round 19. Round 19 was a big one for many, facing off to try and get into their league grand finals and keep pushing for those top ranks. Speaking of top rankings, I want to give a big shout out to Dave, who, not trying to jinx you here, mate, but has got one hand on a set of keys to a brand new car and the inaugural NBL SuperCoach title. Also, shout out to our mate Verns, who is still pushing for the top 10, ranked 21st overall, and it's still an opportunity for him. Fingers crossed for you both. For my side, we scored 434 points, which was just enough to edge past Barnsey and make it through to the grand final of the Podmasters Cup head-to-head league, where I'll be up against Banksy from the Basketball Blokes. Hopefully we can set ourselves up to give our best chance of having a real good crack at winning the thing. It's the final round of the year, and there's 4 teams on the double. We've got the Hawks and the Breakers that both need to win, along with Perth and Melbourne, who on the other side have both wrapped up their top 2 finish. Starting fives are going to be quite similar amongst the top ranked teams, so those that can predict the players that get opportunity this week, those that will be rest and can avoid them, are going to have the most success. With all that in mind, let's take a look at some players to potentially trade in. Just like last week, the priorities are the Hawks and the New Zealand guys. If you haven't already got PJC, Clark and Cheatham, they are the top priority. You've got to get them in. Tyler Harvey has also continued some great form, but is up there in price now at over 300,000. Will McDowell-White had another good round and is still very cheap at 225k. He was a great pickup for me and potentially could be for you guys as well. Mango was serviceable if you're looking for a bench centre. Verns mentioned that he likes the idea of Alex Sarr. He's coming off a big game and could potentially get some good burn this week. I don't mind it. I think Perth is less of a chance to rotate players than United, so that's a good direction to go into. Doolittle and even Usher could also be a shout for some Perth assets. If I was looking at anyone from Melbourne, it would probably only be JLA for a centre option if you want to go against the pack with Froling. I just don't know how they're going to go with minutes. There's talks that they are going to restrict a bit, and we have seen already, like their bench and their second unit competes with most teams. If they can get a lead early, they can really take their foot off the pedal and rest some of their guys. Captain choice is very crucial this week. Those that went PJC over Clark last week got a real jump, and I still think that they're 2 of the 3 best options this week along with Cheatham. A lot of people will probably go with Bryce Cotton, and I'm not saying that's a bad idea, but I couldn't personally do it. I do think that he's going to make a point of trying to go big against the Hawks. I'll be there in the building on Thursday and hoping that he doesn't do that, but we can't ignore how they've guarded him the last 2 times out. JLA is a bit of a high risk, high reward option. He could play 20 minutes in both games and score anywhere between 20 and 100 points for the round. PJC should continue to push hard, as will his teammate Zylan Cheatham. Despite somewhat of a poor round in SuperCoach scoring for his lofty standards, Gary Clark is the main man for a team that is pushing to guarantee a postseason berth. Again, I'd really be looking at one of those 3, and picking the right one is going to decide many matchups and final rankings. Looking at trades, our moves last week were Humphreys to Pinder and Anthony Lamb to Justin Robinson. This gives us 9 out of 10 guys on the double before trades this week. It allows us a few options to go to. One path is bring in Bryce Cotton to match those in grand final matchups we have, or perhaps have a crack at a JLA. We could also look at shifting around some of our bench guys. He didn't necessarily have the best round last week, but Isaiah Liafa had a good week the week prior after Lamb went down. Maybe he could be a shout to go to. We could pivot to him as a cheap bench option. There's also Tom Abercrombie, who has today announced his retirement. I don't think he's going to go massive, but he could definitely be an option if you're a New Zealand fan to bring in one of the all-time good guys of the NBL. I'm not sure which way I'm leaning yet, what a surprise. But I've tried a few things here and there, and yeah, I'm not quite sure the way that we want to go. It's going to really come down to the wire this week. Hopefully I'll have everything sorted before I'm at the game watching the Hawks take on the Wildcats to hopefully secure their place in the postseason, but we'll have to wait and see. As always, I'll post the final moves on X, so if you aren't already, make sure to be following us at @FantasyPhoenix_. Speaking of X, if you've got any questions or any feedback, feel free to leave it there for us. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening or watching, depending on where you tuned in. If this was helpful, please hit that like button or subscribe to the channel on YouTube or tap the follow button on Spotify. As I mentioned last week, we're going to be transitioning into AFL content soon. But before then, we're going to be doing obviously a review of the last round of the year and the season in whole. There's a very strong chance that that's also going to include our good mate Vern from Vern's SuperCoach. So if we're still trying to probably work out how we're going to do that. But yeah, stay tuned for that, and hopefully we can bring a few laughs and dissect everything. Good luck for the final round of the year, everybody. If you're in a grand final, fingers crossed you can get over the line and have that bragging rights over your mates for the rest of the off-season. Thanks again, everyone, and we'll see you in the next episode.